Hello everyone! I wanted to talk to you about paperwork because I know that it's nationals time. Everyone is getting their paperwork ready right now or going to their pageants. And I have been working with a lot of women of all ages to help prepare their paperwork. Some of the really important things to think about is not only organization of your paperwork, how it looks. I want to make sure that you are typing out your paperwork. Don't just submit it handwritten. It doesn't look good. It doesn't reflect well on you. So that's first impression. Second impression is you need to make sure there is some blank space. You can't just have big paragraph answers for every single answer. They do not have time for this. Unless you're in the Miss America system, they don't even expect it from you. So I highly recommend you really edit yourself with what you're saying. But the other thing that's really key is the order of everything. So for example, community service or hobbies and talents, you really want to make sure that you have the most important things first. So particularly in your community service. So let's just say your paperwork doesn't mention anything at all about what is your platform. There's no space for that. Instead, they just say, tell me about your community service. Always lead with your platform. So the work that you're doing, whether it's advocacy or you started an organization, or perhaps you're working primarily with one charitable organization, lead with that one. Why? Because judges are going to ask you about that first. So you want it first, so that's the first thing you're asked about. You should do everything in descending order of interest. That means if you really, aren't doing as much with this organization, you've only maybe did a few walks with them, put it at the bottom. But if you're doing a lot of work with one, make sure that is the very top one. And also, hopefully it's related to your platform. If you don't have a lot of service work on there, I think you need to get going, because it does reflect on you when they're looking at your community service and someone has a very light resume where there's not much happening, and then someone else has a lot of accomplishments and a lot of work over the years. So be careful and cognizant of that. The other thing is making sure that you space it out properly. So for example, with hobbies, interests, and talents, I like to put a little star in between and space it out so that they can read it easily. It's about reading the paperwork. Remember, everyone reads left to right. So even in lists that you might make, you want to make sure you start with the one that you want to be asked about first, and then your lesser pieces you could put towards the end. For those of you who are married, you want to make sure that you have some things in your hobbies and interests other than I travel, I love to travel, I've heard that 9 million ways. That's not a good thing to put on your paperwork unless you are a travel agent or if you are someone who's traveled to 9 different continents. So please just don't think that just because you travel here in the US and you go to different states that that's enough. Unless you have visited 40 or more states, then it's impressive. But for the most part, everyone says travel and it becomes a big nothing. It's a nothing burger. I'm not going to ask you about your travel. The other thing is, I love spending time with friends and family. Well, guess what? We all do. So it's another nothing burger. So you just wasted 2 spaces on your paperwork with no information. You need to be sharing details with the judges. So for example, if you received an award, I recommend saying what the award is and what you have received it for. So a little bit of information without going too verbose. We cannot get into a lot of verbosity. And the other thing is acronyms. Stay away from acronyms unless you're going to spell it out. People don't know your industry, your career, your job, what that means if they're not immersed in your lifestyle. So make sure you spell everything out so that they understand. That would be like me saying I have my AJP from the GIA. That means nothing to you, but it means accredited jewelry professional with the Gemological Institute of America. So you have to really write it out so that people understand what you're referring to. The other thing is, don't put things on your paperwork that you don't want to be asked about or you don't have anything great to say about it. I've seen so many people on their paperwork, they will put information down and I ask them about it. They go, well, I haven't done that in a while. Well, guess what? Don't put it on the paperwork. So I know you want to fill the paperwork up and put a lot on there, but you really want to focus on things that are relevant, that are current, that you have a great story for, that's going to help propel this interview into something successful, right? So just be smart on it. I will say I like to have something that is personality based on your paperwork. So maybe it's going to be something related to a really funky kind of hobby, or maybe you're someone that collects turtles, or maybe you cook international foods. Maybe you're someone who is the worst cook in America. I did have one client who had a lot of fluff on her paperwork related to shopping, and I just felt like, you know, shopping can only take you so far, right? Like, we get it. You like shopping. We all know. So I wanted something a little more interesting, and I asked her if her husband, you know, if she cooked something special for her husband, and she goes, no, actually, my husband said I'm the worst cook in America. I go, great, we're putting it on the paperwork. We put it on there. It gave the judges a big laugh. She ended up winning her pageant, and it gave her a nice little connection with them and something to laugh about. So I like something humorous on your paperwork, or something that would spark their interest, because chances are judges are not going to ask about, you know, certain awards. They're not going to ask about your platform. Sometimes they're sick of hearing about it. So they want to talk about something kind of different, whether it's archery or, you know, some other skill that you have that's unusual. That will spark things. You don't want to waste a lot of time on things that aren't going to help propel you, but at the same time, at least it opened up a gate, you get the relationship going, and you need to move that forward from there. So I hope this helped with your paperwork. I, of course, do help with paperwork, and I've helped many of my winners to have paperwork that gets commented on by the judges, saying that they had the best paperwork in the pageant. They have literally gotten resume awards because of it. And I really ask you a lot of questions, and that's really the key, is when you're working on paperwork, you might think you know some things, or maybe you're in a block and you just don't know what to write. I will literally ask so many questions of you, and I'll dig in to find out what are you about, and try to make sure that your paperwork states what you are about, what your past is about, what your learnings have been about, things that are really important to judges or would be interesting or show depth or character. So I really help you and work with you to ask you those questions, because sometimes it is hard to see ourselves, and we need someone else to be able to reflect onto us. But every client that I work with after paperwork, they are thrilled, happy, and they feel more prepared for interview, because essentially I'm asking you a lot of questions and I'm preparing you for interview. Because if you don't have a great answer for something, or if it's just not going to be compelling enough, we eliminate it. And that makes your interview even better, because now your interview is honed in on what your strengths are, what your core messages are to the judges, and it doesn't waste a lot of time. Easy to read, glance down, get it. I also do a lot of things with fonts and italics and bolding, so that we can make sure they're picking out what I want them to see. So it's about training their eye where to look, because I want to train them on what to ask you. Make sense? Well, I've enjoyed sharing this with you guys. If you have any more ideas for videos of things that you'd like to learn about or see, please post below, and I look forward to seeing you soon. Hey, by the way, join my Winner's Way private group on Facebook. I have over 500 pageant girls on there who are serious about their prep, who love to exchange ideas. And also, of course, we like to kind of give each other the heads up if something's, you know, a certain system isn't the best system to enter, or if there's something shady going on. We support each other. So please do join my private group. You'll have to answer a few questions, and then I'll let you into the group. I also have the Winner's Way workbook, which itemizes in a lot more detail what to do with your paperwork. It has interview questions. It has final questions written out that people have said previously for you to learn from, so that you could use that as a prototype for your own answers. Essentially what I do is I compiled everything that I knew about pageants. I tried to put them in a workbook for you. So it's 100 pages long, and you can purchase that with me directly. So contact me on the Winner's Way. I look forward to seeing you soon. Bye, everyone.